Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Now, I just felt like I needed like a rant, and this is fully going to be a rant. Right up front, this movie sucks. Like, real bad. Just a little background for people who don't know, like, my stance on this series. I'm not a big fan of this whole series. The first film's a masterpiece. Second film's a masterpiece and my favorite in the franchise. The third one's alright. It's very forgettable every time I watch it for me. Next Generation is just... it's another bad one. The remake is phenomenal. I think it's one of the greatest horror remakes. Like, definitely on my top 10. The beginning is good. I recently rewatched that and did a video on it a few months ago. It went up. Texas Chainsaw 3D. Just watch my rant on it. I'm skipping Leatherface, just because I remember that being terrible too. And then we get this one from last year, Netflix, and it is what now is the term legacy sequel, which to me just means cash grab sequel where we bring back old ass people from the original movies who half the time feel like they don't even want to be there. That's what it is for me. You can call it legacy sequel all you want, but there's not a lot of good stuff in this movie. Like, hardly at all. I don't care for the characters. Dante is okay. And the only character I really like in this is Lila. Like, I think her character is very good. I like the whole backstory that she was a victim of a school shooting. Then she had to face those fears later on in the movie when she picks up a gun and everything. All of that is probably the best stuff in the movie. That's better than, like, the Leatherface stuff. Mel, or Melody, but they call her Mel. I just can't look at her. It's hard to look at this woman. And, I mean, call it mean like all you want, but everybody has those few characters or actors in movies they just can't look at. This is one of them. She's hard to look at. And when you can't look at someone, it's hard to take anything else seriously about them. Like, if you're not looking at somebody, then you're not listening to them, or like anything like that. I just don't like her whole character. She's bossy, she's pushy, she's annoying as shit. Just the embodiment of, I hate all the terms, but like the woke generation and shit like that, which I'm not getting big into, but that's like her character. Just being there to remind you it's 2022 and the world sucks. But Melody, Lila, they're sisters, and Dante and his fiance, the hell remembers her name, they end up going to this abandoned ghost town in Texas of Harlow, and they want to build a brand new community and basically just sell off these properties and make like a heavily gentrified, peaceful area where everybody can live in peace and harmony and melody. And then, of course, Leatherface comes into play and a bunch of them get killed. Okay, let me say this. Now that I'm seeing the opening narration, it's not John Larroquette. Sounds like him, fake John Larroquette. But I'm looking at the cinematography and the way that it's shot. All the clips that they're showing and when he's talking about the events of the original movie. And that's just one thing that so many of these legacy sequels, and just sequels in general, just don't seem to get. Like, the people that make them just don't seem to understand what most of us loved about these films in the first place. We didn't love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because there was a guy wearing a skin mask running around butchering people. That's very bare bones. I mean, that's a great aspect of it, but that's not why most of us loved the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's Tobe Hooper's use of visual imagery. It's the cinematography, the way the film looks, how it looks just run down like a documentary almost, and it feels very real. Sound design. All of these come together to make that film the masterpiece that it is. Same with like Halloween, or you can say this with pretty much any of the masterpiece movies that then spawned a whole bunch of sequels and then eventually reboots and legacy sequels. With these legacy sequels, all they do is just take the premise and think that's what everyone wants. Like, look at the Halloween trilogy recently. All right, let's just get Michael Myers. As long as we have Michael Myers killing people and we have Laurie Strode back and stuff, that's good. That's what we want. No, that's not why I love Halloween. That's not why it's my third favorite film of all time. It's the score. It's the use of that score. It's the directing. It's just the mystery and mystique of Michael Myers. It's the way that it's shot and the way that he's framed. There are so many things that make Halloween the perfect film that it is. So when they try to make legacy sequels like this, I feel that they ignore all of that. This film doesn't have anything close to good compared to the masterful work we see from Hooper in the original and in Texas Chainsaw 2. There's no good visual imagery in here. The cinematography and the directing, those are all things I say all the time. They should be good. They should look good. This is a big budget Netflix production of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot or requel, whatever you want to call it. It should look good and sound good and everything. So you can't really give that as a positive. Besides that, there's one or two scenes in here, but let's jump into it. And to add insult to injury, they bring back Sally Hardesty, but it's not even her. It's not Marilyn Burns. So, it just feels even more cheap because of that. More cheap than a Halloween, this past trilogy with bringing back Laurie. And, at least it's Jamie Lee Curtis. Here, they just get some old woman to play Sally, and she's only going to be in it for 10 minutes. So, I don't know, man. So, this is 50 years after the events of the first film. And, like I said, the four of them are heading to this town of Harlow, which... setting is a very important thing, too, in movies. This town here, it looks like a fucking soundstage. Most likely because it is a soundstage. Or it's just some shitty-ass little town, but it looks like a soundstage. There is no life to this town, setting-wise and people-wise. There's, nobody here. It's a complete ghost town. So this just starts with forced shit right here. They go in to stop in this gas station, and this is just here for exposition. This is just here to say that Sally Hardesty is still around. She became a ranger, and she's been hunting Leatherface, trying to find him ever since 50 years ago. And she hasn't found him because he wears a mask. You can't find somebody if you don't know what they look like. He has newspaper clippings and stuff like that all over the wall of this gas station. It's been 50 years since the events of this movie. He just has these things, newspaper clippings and stuff, up there for 30, 40 years to be generous. It's really ridiculous when you think about it. This person hasn't taken down any of these newspaper clippings in 30, 40 years. They're just there so we can get this scene. And it's lazy writing. It really is. And it's just there to introduce Sally Hardesty and put it in your head so you know she'll be back at some point in this movie, and so that Lila knows that something went down around this area and that the character of Sally even exists. That's her way of knowing that she is a thing. I think it's hysterical. I just noticed this because for some reason I always have subtitles on when I watch movies. The character, the fiance of Dante, who she's the first one killed off, and I said I don't remember her name. She's so unimportant that even the subtitles say Dante's partner. Doesn't even give her a name until he says her name, which he hasn't yet, so I don't know what it is. Alright, then there's more stupidity. When they're getting gas at the gas station, I forget his name, but the mechanic or whatever. He has a mechanic shop in the town of Harlow, and he's their construction worker. He's doing work in the town for them. But yet there's the whole scene of him pulling up, and he has a gun on him, very visible. And Melody starts bitching and complaining about who would have a gun in public to compensate for their little dick and stuff. And then he comes over, and he talks to them and everything, and they drive off. And then they get to town, and Dante goes up to him and says it's our construction worker, shakes hands with him and stuff. Why didn't he recognize him here? Even if they just talked on the phone and stuff, he should recognize his voice. And why doesn't the mechanic, why doesn't he look at them and say, oh, this is obviously the people that are coming? to prepare this whole town and stuff. Like, none of that makes sense at all. Plus, the mechanic's whole excuse, I want to say Dwight, but I could be totally off on that, of carrying the gun, as he says, there's a bunch of feral pigs in the area. And they're plagued with feral pigs. And the only way to put them down is to shoot them and kill them instantly. As far as I recall, we never see a feral pig in this movie. Also, I know that this movie gets a lot of shit for being a woke film and pushing agendas like gentrification and, to a smaller part, like influencers in general, and a big thing like with gun control and stuff. The problem is, when a movie sucks, I don't care what they're trying to say. I don't care what themes they're exploring or what the social commentary is. If the movie's not good, I'm not going to care about any of that. You can say anything you want with your movie, but if it blows, I'm not going to care about it. But yeah, this whole town, it looks like the back lot at Universal Studios, like a soundstage. Let me touch on this real quick too, just because of this conversation that Mel and Lila are having. And she's saying this is a chance to start over and to get away from all the violence and the madness. Never going to happen. It can't happen. Because the madness and the violence is humanity. So no matter where you go, there's always going to be a crazy fucker or two that goes postal and just starts killing people and stuff like that. No matter how small your community, no matter where it is, no matter if it's on a fucking island in the middle of nowhere that no one could find unless they have special permission and an invite, you're still going to have violence because it's in human nature to be violent, unfortunately. But it is. So just the whole idea of going somewhere to start a peaceful community, it's a fucking cult. So remember Dwight? Yeah, way off. His name is Richter. Richter. So nowhere close to Dwight. Richter even says it. Like right to them. He says, what are you guys, a cult? Partner of Dante. She still doesn't have a name in the subtitles. Still says Dante's partner. She says, no, we're just a bunch of idealistic individuals looking to start a better world. And he goes, yeah, that's a cult. And even Lila laughs, that's a great line. So what positive? Then they find the orphanage, which apparently this is where this old woman is, and she took in a bunch of people over the years, and Leatherface was one of them. So he lives here alone with Ginny, this old woman. And she has a Confederate flag hanging, like, from outside of her building. And all of this is stupid. And Dante runs up just to grab the Confederate flag. We see this a lot recently in horror movies and in movies in general. Move the fuck on. America, we have a dark past. Some people just are ignorant to it, and they won't get over it. And then the whole conversation that Mel and Dante have with the old woman. And she starts and has to bring up the Confederate flag and stuff. Like, this is just lazy writing. Anytime that there's a black character in a movie and stuff, it's such an easy way out. Or an easy thing to throw in any type of racial tension and stuff like that. And I get it. Yes, it's Texas. But it doesn't have to be here. Like, it's just taking up space. All of this dialogue, everything to do with the Confederate flag. And then they drop it on this woman that she's not supposed to be here. That the bank foreclosed on this property, took it back months ago. She tries fighting her way out, saying she got the title. Then she drops that whole stupid racist shit. And then the sheriffs come. And they end up taking her out. And she has like a heart attack or something, lack of oxygen, hits the ground, and they have to take her away. Fuck her. Like, seriously. They spend so much time with Mel, especially. So annoying with the, oh my god, we killed her and stuff. No, you didn't. Like, maybe it sounds cold, but I would walk away from that situation free as a bird. I wouldn't have a shred of a guilty conscience. You go in there, it's your job to check this place out. You're about to auction off all these houses. There's someone in there who's not supposed to be there. And then they try, like, weaseling their way out of it. It's like, no, call the sheriff. They came. You did everything you're supposed to do. It's not my fault she's old and she can drop dead like a sack of bricks at any fucking point. It has nothing to do with me. I would walk away from that without a shred of guilt. But that's just me. I also don't like Leatherface's look in this at all. I don't like anything about his appearance in this movie. The mask he's wearing and just the build of him, it all seems off. Just doesn't seem like Leatherface. It just seems like a big-ass guy with a chainsaw running around. So I don't like anything to do with Leatherface in this entire film. But there is another positive. It's the shot when you see him for the first time standing at the top of the stairs, and there's that stained glass window with the light shining through when the old woman's arguing with Mel. That's a really cool shot. I really like how that looks with him standing at the top of the stairs. There's another positive. Every movie has some positives. So Leatherface is in the van, the ambulance, which is just two sheriffs, with his mom, trying to get her to the hospital. And then she officially dies, and Dante's partner ends up texting Mel or Dante or something saying that she died. Then we get a really cool kill. Like when the sheriff deputy tries to grab Leatherface's arm, and he grabs his hand and he breaks his fucking elbow, and then he takes the bone and shoves it into his throat and stabs him repeatedly with his own broken arm. That's cool. That's pretty inventive. Then he accidentally shoots the driver and they end up crashing. And I do like the fact that he skins his mom's face to wear that as his mask. I like the idea of it. Like I said, I just don't like how it looks. Just everything with Mel is so annoying. When she gets a text from Dante's partner, shows that she's dead. And then he says, damn. That would be my reaction. Damn. Well, that sucks. She says, damn. That's all you have to say. We just killed her. What do you mean? You just killed her? No. Just like he says. No, heart disease killed her. 100%. We already went through this. I agree with him, and she's just being a whiny little bitch. Alright. Then they have to go back into the orphanage because they started looking for the deed to the house, and Dante don't have it. Which in some way makes her right and justified in her statement that they killed her. Doesn't matter if they made a mistake or not. Again, it's not their fault in any way that this woman could hardly breathe and drop dead at the slightest bit of conflict. Then we get introduced to Sally Hardesty when she gets the phone call from the gas station guy who has decades old newspaper all over his walls. This is probably, out of all the legacy sequels and returning characters that we've had in the last 5 years, maybe more, this has got to be one of the most forced and laziest, if not the most. She is absolutely pointless in this movie. You see her here, she gets in her car, you see the picture of her from the first movie with Franklin and her friends, and then she shows up later just to get murdered and Dick Halloran immediately. Then when Leatherface comes back to the house and Melody's in there and Dante, and you think Dante's killed and Melody's hiding, there's some suspense, but nowhere near anything good, and it has no real payoff or anything. Dante's whole fucked up face, though, as he's walking in the rain away from the house and stuff, and they find him, Richter and the black woman who's also there for the auction, looks good. Richter gets killed. He goes into the house, tries to help. He gets his head smashed in a few times. Cool. And then he also, in his dying breaths, he ends up pushing the keys or something over to Melody for her to grab. She's under the bed. Now, I've seen enough movies to know that if I was being stalked and trying to be killed by some type of crazed killer, and I was fortunate enough to trick him or her by hiding under a bed, and they leave, never get out from under that bed. At least for an hour or two. Because and it doesn't happen here, but it does in so many movies. They think they're fine, and then they come out, and he's standing on a chair, or he's standing on top of the bed, something like this. I would just take a nap for 2 hours. He did find me. Hopefully went downstairs. If I come out now, he's probably going to be hiding somewhere. So if I just stay and take a nap here, then maybe we'll be like, oh, maybe he's not under that bed. And for some reason, they won't check with their eyes. Then we get the bus scene. It's like a party bus. And then this guy, when Leatherface comes on board this bus, and don't forget, this is Leatherface, he ends up putting his phone up, recording him, and saying, try anything, you're canceled, bro. Are you goddamn kidding me? Who in their right mind sees a man this big with a mask on, with a chainsaw, and thinks this guy is fucking around in any way, shape, or form, that he cares that he gets canceled or not? On social media, this is so stupid, it's not even funny. But then it leads to the best scene in the movie. You just see Leatherface just hacking and slashing and just chopping apart everybody on this bus. Some of the CGI is a little whatever, but it's the best scene in the movie, and that's saying a lot because there's nothing really great in here. But I do like, again, like, this is the best part of the movie for me, is Lila's character and her backstory with the school shooting and stuff, and the scene that she has with, not Dwight, I almost said Dwight, Richter, in the mechanic shop, and she picks the gun up, and she explains what happened to him. Then when the whole bus scene takes place, and she's seeing all this carnage and stuff, she gets flashbacks to the school shooting. Like, all that is interesting, and should have been explored much more in this movie. Lila should have been, like, the main character here. They focus too much on Mel. Like, and she just feels like a side note, Lila's character, which she has the best character development in this movie, so it's a shame. And then again, how wasted this is. Sally shows up, and her grand plan is get Mel and Lila in the back of the cop car so they can't get out and defend themselves, while she goes to proceed to fight Leatherface and then get almost instantly stabbed through the chest with the chainsaw, carried up into the air, and flung into a pile of garbage. That's literally what happens. And that's her whole role in this movie. Like, oh, this is so terrible. So then we get a long, anticlimactic chase sequence that has zero tension or suspense or anything like that. And Lila and Melody, they put down Leatherface, so they think. So then Lila walks outside. Kind of cool that she finds the sheriff hat that Sally was wearing and the photo of her, Franklin, the friends from the first movie. And she takes the hat and puts it on, symbolizing that she's like Sally. She's the one who survived. I mean, she doesn't know it yet, but we're about to get my second favorite part of this movie, is the friggin' ending. She gets in the car with Melody. She puts on, like, automatic drive GPS, and the car starts moving, and Leatherface shows up, pulls Melody out of the car, and then all Lila can do is, like, look back, like, while sticking out of the sunroof, and she just sees Melody get decapitated. Chainsaw the head right the hell off. And I clap just to see this character murdered, which is not how you should be feeling, like, about any human being character, like, in a movie. But, oh, I clap every time she gets decapitated. And then she drives off with the car driving itself, and she screams and freaks out. This movie's terrible. There's a few things in it that are okay, but, oh, like, it's such a rough watch. I don't know why I picked it. I just thought, hey, I need to, like, rant about something, and it feels good. And so I'm guessing that's a no on the whole Harlow gentrification program. The moral of the story is, don't promise feral pigs in a movie to me, and then not deliver on showing any of aforementioned feral pigs. That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. It is terrible wherever you're from. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or night, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.